Good afternoon, members. The subcommittee to study the development of textbooks and teaching materials for kindergartens, primary and secondary schools. It is time to start. We've also formed a quorum. Let's make a start. I would like to remind members that we have only got 30 minutes for this meeting, that is up till 5 p.m. The agenda is as follows: election of chairman and deputy chairman, as well as schedule of meetings and items for discussion. Before I receive nominations for the post, I would like to check with you whether you would like to ask the candidates to present their platform and whether you would like to have a Q&A session. Your views, please. Ms. Claudia Mo. Of course, yes, I would like to have that. Mr. Chairman, I've always been a member of the education panel ever since the year 2010. For this subcommittee, the title is to study the development of textbooks and teaching materials for kindergartens, primary and secondary schools. I don't quite understand what it means. Does it mean that the next time we need to talk about the case for undergraduates and then postgraduates, etc.? Well, to me, I believe that Mr. Yip Kin Yun among us is most well versed in educational matters. Can he tell us what he thinks about the work of the subcommittee? Somebody told me that he would not know whether it is making a small step or a big step towards brainwashing. Well, in fact, the education panel had a discussion about the setting up of this subcommittee. It was approved. I don't think we should go back. We shouldn't be wasting time on such a discussion. We've only got 30 minutes. Mr. Jonathan Ho, presiding member, please carry out the election as soon as possible. If Claudia Mo would like to have a discussion, let's elect the chairman first and then we can sort out the matter. Let's move ahead with the election of the chairmanship. Well, once the chairman has been elected, we can no longer change the name of the subcommittee. Now, this is a subcommittee to study the development of textbooks and teaching materials for kindergartens, primary and secondary schools. Once if the name is susceptible to changes and yet we go ahead with the election of chairman, you have to bear in mind that once the chairman has been elected, the name of the subcommittee cannot be changed. The education the education panel had a discussion. I don't think you have the power to discuss the change of the name of the subcommittee. Is it Felix Chung or Horace Chang? I can't recognize you because you are wearing a surgical mask. I'm Horace Chang. Well, I'm a bit worried, judging from your past experience presiding over members. What did you say? Can you make yourself clear? You couldn't see me, you couldn't hear me. How can you chair the meeting? Please show some respect towards me. I asked you to speak more clearly. Just now you weren't clear, so I'm asking you to make yourself clear. Take it slowly. Yes, I've been taking it very slowly. Well, when you speak, please show some respect. Are you stopping me? Not that I'm stopping you, because just now you didn't respect me. Are you showing any respect? Well, presiding member, let me say this. We are presiding over the election of chairman. As to the name of the subcommittee, last time at a meeting of the education panel, there was a discussion and it was approved. Here, we don't have the power to have any discussion of such a nature. We have to go back to the education panel. Now you can only preside over the election. Do you understand? You cannot ask me if I understand or not, because I am chairing it. Do you understand? Yes, of course I understand. Well, then you better shut up after you're finished. Claudia Mo. Chairman, I would like to clarify the following. My memory is that probably the name has been set. But then what about kindergartens, primary and secondary schools? It's about the development of textbooks and teaching materials for such. I'm still muddled. I indeed would like to ask our representative for the educational sector, namely Mr. Yip Kyun-yun, to tell us what this is all about based on his experience, so that I, in a moment, can consider withdrawing from the subcommittee. Who else would like to speak? Dr. Fernando Jiang. I remember that you asked us whether we would like the candidates to present their platform and tell us about what they would like to achieve. I would like to answer this question. I think this has to be done. We haven't got much time left before the term comes to an end. At most, we can have 2 or 3 meetings. For the terms of reference of this subcommittee, I think it encompasses a lot. We talk about the textbooks and teaching materials for kindergartens, primary and secondary schools. It talks about the regulation of the development of such materials. It is no easy task. I would be interested to learn from individual candidates as to what he or she would like to do once elected. Well, if you turn to Appendix 3, there are 5 points. If we would like to go over each and every of them, it means that we need at least 5 meetings, but I don't think we have 5 meetings. So I favor the idea that we should invite the candidates to tell us what they have got in mind. Thank you. Tanya Chen. I agree very much with Fernando Jiang. In the past, be it panels or subcommittees, we did allow candidates running for the post of chairman or deputy chairman to give us a word about their platforms as well as their work plans. Well, under the terms of reference, I believe that in the past, we rarely talked about such matters. Say, for example, even the education panel seldom had a discussion of such. I used to be on the panel for education, and currently I'm also an incumbent member. So in relation to school-based management policy and the development and regulation of textbooks and teaching materials, we would be talking about the materials used by individual schools. I'm a bit unclear here, and I believe that the scope will be wide. So my understanding is that the government is considering the resumption of classes after the DSE has taken place. So if circumstances permit, in the light of the development of the epidemic, are we going to have a public hearing? What about the meeting arrangements? Will we then need to schedule many more meetings? I think candidates have to tell us about his or her platform. And then we should also bear in mind arrangements of our tasks. Recently, Mr. Frankie Yik has been elected as the chairman of a subcommittee on electric vehicles. We have got 3 more months to go, even though our membership as a electrical member will last until September. Mr. Frankie Yik intends to have a meeting once every 2 months. For the subcommittee on electric vehicles, I think it covers quite a lot of work, but they are able to have bi-monthly meetings to achieve their task or their objective. So perhaps we should also learn more from candidates as to what to think about the work plan and schedule, platform, etc. Thank you. Next, Mr. Ray Chen. Sorry, speaker off mic. I'm not the chairman of the subcommittee on electric vehicles. It is Mr. Gary Chen. Next, Mr. Ray Chen. Mr. Chairman, I think, of course, the name of the subcommittee has already been decided on when we decided to have a subcommittee. I'm not sure if we have got a legal advisor here. For the 5 points in the work plan, I want to know whether they were put together after we took a decision to set up the subcommittee or at the time of setting up the subcommittee. Well, to me, There may be 3 meetings over 6 months' time, but to me, even for 4 years' time, I don't know if we can achieve much. Now, for textbooks, we can pay for the textbooks so as to buy some textbooks to study them. What about teaching materials? Well, we have got examples online, but we aren't too sure whether they are genuine teaching materials. Are we going to invite the writers or authors of such teaching materials to appear before us? Otherwise, we'll be having a grilling session in the Cultural Revolution style when we examine the teaching materials. So we need to look at our liabilities as well. So a procedural point as well as a legal point. Our clerk, please. Well, according to Rule 22U, well, in fact, we need to talk about the terms of reference, etc., when we would like to set up a subcommittee. Therefore, at the panel meeting, the terms of reference, as well as the work plan and the work schedule, etc., were included for your consideration. This Rule 22U of the House Rules. Where can I find it? Paper CB bracket 4 81/19-20 bracket 03. Ray Chen, please. Well, we haven't got a legal advisor here, so I have to suspend the meeting and wait for the legal advisor to join us before I can answer Mr. Ray Chen's question. So let's get the legal advisor to join us to answer Mr. Ray Chen's question.
冇嘅，咁邊件？
我哋係冇朋友。
邊件啊？
頭先同事傳
啊？邊件咪而家冇傳票晒邊件？
我知啊，冇花你時間。
你等等先，我同秘書商量下先，好嘛？唔該。
哦，好啊，哦。
A moment, please, because I would like to have a word with the clerk.
嗱，請等一等大家。
A moment, please. The Secretariat would like to get the legal advisor to join us. So the meeting has been suspended. I am not sure whether it is still being broadcast live. Well, it takes a bit of time to get the legal advisor, so I suspend the meeting for 5 minutes.